We came so far from dreams. The path was hard for me. They thought we fall, you see. Well, look at us now, look at us now. We make it hot when we on the scene. Yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team. Yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around. You know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we. Tell me who better than we. We soaring to places you never could reach. When we walk in that spot, don't hear none of you speak. Shh, do you want peace or the peace? A king about to put you to sleep. Listen, my team is elite. You not even qualified to compete. He starving, he barely can eat. I guess that's why he always itching for beef. So I put him on ice and I told him to chill. Close your mouth if you can't pay for the meal. Making statements that you know you don't mean. Nice guy trying to act like he mean. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean. Attitudes will put you dudes in the beam. Izuku, he don't live in reality. Shake back, all become a fatality. Yeah, how you gon' hate when you mirror us? He think he a star, he ain't serious. X him out, we not on the same frequency. If you broke, you ain't hearing us. Work the screw, anime, that's how I feel, period. We winning, that's making them furious. We make it high when we on the scene, yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team, yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around, you know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we.
Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, and I'm back with you with another new What If for the channel. And honestly, this is a What If I feel like needs to come out for the time being, mainly because I feel like this is a year where nostalgia is starting to win out. People need some comfort, to be honest, and I want this to be a What If for you guys for a little bit of comfort after all. This is What If Izuku had a Bakugan quirk. This is part 1, and honestly, looking back, there's not a lot of what ifs that focus on what if Izuku had a Bakugan. And given that my card-based what ifs are becoming more and more popular on the channel, I decided, hey, why not bring in another card game what if onto the channel? So yeah. Also, bit of a heads up, I will mainly be using that of the old school Bakugan and series after all. I won't be using that of the new Bakugan series, like that being Bakugan Planet. I'm aware that the card game is basically, became really playable and even to this day has actual tournaments for Bakugan, even still going on now. But when watching the reboot, it nearly basically killed my enjoyment of Bakugan entirely. So yeah, not gonna happen. I'll stick to the version of Bakugan that all of us know and love. So yeah, at any rate, with all that out of the way, let's get into this. Shall we, guys? All men are not created equal. That is something that a young boy with messy green hair, bright green eyes, and diamond-shaped freckles had to find out. This boy is Izuku Midoriya. And the reason being, the boy basically defending that of another boy from from 3 other kids, basically bullying him and hurting him. However, the reason why is because of one thing. The other boys had that of superpowers. These superpowers are known as quirks. And they use these quirks to basically beat that of the green-haired boy with an inch of his life. But luckily, they didn't kill him, just rough him up enough that he basically looks like he's half dead on the ground. With the other boy that looked over him, not saying anything, but in a way, thanked him for protecting him. And the reason why is because this boy, Izuku Midoriya, in society is quirkless. Or that's how everybody sees him. In this reality, in this world, 80% of the human population all across the world have that of quirks, superpowers born from that of from a baby born in China, glowing light all the way back 100 years ago. It started out small before each generation, every child was born with a quirk. Civil unrest happened, but over time, things began to settle. But there is one thing that began to basically stick during that of civil reforms due to quirks. That being, people using their quirks however they see fit. mainly those who use their quirks to hurt others, take what they want, abuse it, as they are seen as not just criminals, but as villains. However, something rose from that of these selfish individuals with their quirks, a profession that started off as that of just, well, good Samaritans just wanting to help others in need with that of their powers. These people would be started out as vigilantes in that of America. Before then, it began to rise as something more. They would be known as heroes, and soon the profession would become pro-heroes. Since then, all across the world, every country has heroes fighting for the people, protecting them, saving them, inspiring generations. And it's no different for that of Izuku Midoriya. That is because the man who inspired him, the man that basically made him realize that being a hero is what he wanted to do, protecting others, saving lives is what means to be a hero to him. As the man that inspired Izuku was no other than Japan's #1 hero and symbol of peace of Japan and possibly the world, All Might. The man is literally an icon, a legend, the man who inspired so many generations of, heroes and kids to be heroes themselves. To not only having a figure and outlook that makes him look larger than life, to even having one of the most powerful quirks that even to this day, nobody even knows what it's called. But to Izuku, All Might is just a man that basically made him want to be a hero too. However, easier said than done. At least around when he was that of 4 years old, where everybody else around him, from that of his classmates to his friends to even that of his childhood best friend growing up, Katsuki Bakugo, one of the very boys who basically beat the living crap out of the kid, gained quirks too, while Izuku is the only one who has it. Or rather yet, he does have a quirk. It's just that nobody knows what it is. It's an emitter type quirk with that of a unique activation. It's just that the quirk doctor couldn't figure it out for the life of him and just basically labeled it off as Izuku better off as quirkless, just basically spending his whole life finding out that the quirk may even be useless if he can't even find what the activation was. With that, Izuku's life felt complicated. Of course, he was told that he does have a quirk and even told everybody around him, but due to him not knowing how to activate it or how to use it, or anyway, people just basically wrote off Izuku as pretending, lying, making things up that he's basically quirkless, that he has no quirk, and just pretending now. And thus, many things happened that led to that of the current Izuku. From people basically ostracizing him, to that of his childhood friend believing he was looking down on him, when somebody like that of Katsuki Bakugo, being told that he'll be a great and strongest hero ever, being helped by somebody that he saw as weaker than him, beneath him, or better yet, somebody that he had no idea what his quirk was, still wanting to be a hero with no power. So he turned on him, mainly as a way to defend himself from that of his fragile ego, to push it off that he's basically pushing away the one thing that he sees as weak, pathetic, and useless. Nothing but a Deku. But to Bakugo, in reality, all he's doing is trying to crush the hopes and dreams of somebody that he's literally afraid of. But he would never admit it out loud, no matter what. But as for Izuku, his life as growing up has basically been a nightmare. But the only thing keeping him going, even now, is trying to be a hero. Occasionally, he tries everything he can to figure out what his quirk was, as he remembers what the doctor says, that it's an emitter type quirk, one of the 3 quirk types after all, and it needs a catalyst, like it needs something to activate. Of course, he tries literally everything that he can think of, from pencils, pens, paper, water, electricity, metal, fire, or literally anything that a kid like him growing up is able to get his hands on. And yet, nothing. At one point, he was at his lowest. Currently at the age of 10, no friends and no associates. To cheer him up, he planned on going to the card shop to get some limited edition All Might cards. Of course, being a All Might super fan, after all. However, when he goes into the card shop, he sees something a little bit more different. Something a little more shocking, actually. As instead of just like that of the usual trading cards of pro heroes, like always, he sees something else called the Grand Return of Bakugan. With the 10-year-old greenette a little confused saying, Bakugan? Within, the older man saying, oh hey, Midoriya. Seeing one of the workers of the card shop, instead of the owner, he's basically just a typical cashier or somebody who helps around the shop. A guy that looks like that in his late 20s, within saying, hello, Mr. Watanabe, saying, still calling me by my family name. It's fine. Curious about that Bakugan, huh? With saying, Bakugan? I've never heard of it, saying, would be surprised if you did for somebody of your age. It's a pre-quirk series, actually. It started off it was a card game that kind of got some popularity. Then basically, when quirks came along, people completely forgot about it. However, a few companies involved with that of hero merchandising decided to basically bring it back. And decided to do that of a grand remerger for that of the series. We're going to be selling cards alongside that of Bakugan here at the shop from now on, outside of just your usual hero cards and merch. Within saying, so, interested in Bakugan, or are you here to try and see about the limited edition All Might cards after all? Within, hearing that, Izuku saying, maybe you can tell me about that of the limited edition All Might card, saying, as much as I want to help you out, kid, unfortunately, we really much sold out, to be honest, already. Within, Izuku hearing that, slumping to the ground on his knees in that of dejective and that of shame, saying, sorry, kid, I wanted to hold one for you, but you know how the old man is when he comes to the shop. Employees can't hold items for that of other customers. If the customer wants an item, then they get it. No ifs or buts about it. But then, Izuku couldn't help but basically look down before then saying, but if you like, how about I teach you a bit of Bakugan? Within realizing, sure, why not? Saying, all right, how about this? Bringing at least that of a few, Bakugan spears alongside that of some gate cards and ability cards. As he begins to explain that of the rules of Bakugan, that each player is given that of 3 Bakugan, alongside 3 ability cards and 3 gate cards. And yes, like I said before, I'll be using that of the old school legacy version, before that of the Bakugan Planet or Evolve card game, Evolution after all. Would Izuku actually began to understand that of the rules for each card, after all. Not to mention, Watanabe plays a few games with that of Izuku to see how he feels, and let's just say Izuku basically schooled the guy at it. Within, that's when Watanabe saying, whoa, now that's shocking. You just picked it up and I've been playing this card game for almost all day. Within saying, you must be really good, Midoriya. With Izuku a little bit shocked by this, saying, well, I try my best. I think it's just beginner's luck. As for some reason, when Izuku was playing, he felt like he understood and basically knew what card to play at the time and which Bakugan to basically send out to. Almost like everything was just going his way, or he was being guided or shown how to basically play it properly. With that, he took advantage of each mistake that, well, Watabe basically made during the card game. At first, when they first played, it almost looked like Watabe made it easy for Izuku to, well, win. But then the second time when he was actually trying, it showed that Izuku was able to still see each flaw and took advantage of it, which once again made the match seem easy, or made Izuku seem like that of a natural. In a way, Watabe believed that Izuku may be a prodigy at that of Bakugan, with Watabe giving Izuku that of his own Bakugan, at least 3 of them. He gives him that of a, well, green Bakugan, which is a Ventus type Bakugan, basically using the power of wind and storms and stuff like that, as the Bakugan is called Skyrus. The other Bakugan he gives him is that of a, well, Chaos Bakugan, using the power of light, known as Tigrera. And the last Bakugan he gives him is that of a red Bakugan, being Pyrus, the element of fire, as it's called Dragonoid, with even a few ability cards tied to that of each Bakugan after all, and even gate cards too. Wondering if it's okay for him to have these. Within Watabe saying that he'll pay for them out of his paycheck after all. Seeing that Izuku is the one kid here who doesn't come here with friends or anyone from that of his school, he wants to at least try and help him out by at least getting into Bakugan. Have other hobbies outside of just being, well, a hero fanboy. With Izuku and blushing being called out for only basically liking heroes after all, but still appreciates it either way. And with that of his new hobby in cards, he heads back home. However, little did Izuku know, something within him has changed. And if he basically looked at his Bakugan a lot more closely, they also begin to basically glow. For the past few years, Izuku's life has begun to change. Sure, he's still not, well, have that many friends, and it also gotten somewhat worse for him as the treatment of him being in that of Aldera Junior High, given that he doesn't show off his quirk. However, some things have changed, to be honest. Since the reemergence and revival of Bakugan, Izuku has basically fought against quite a bit of people with that of the new revived card game, with each year bringing back that of the old, well, series one by one. Even the anime started basically being re-shown and distributed through that of television too. With this, Bakugan was almost as big as, well, Pro Heroes, but not entirely. It's still basically getting its footing. They only do that of local tournaments at card shops across that of certain prefectures across Tokyo. Izuku takes parts in that of local card shops across that of, well, Masafu, and in that of the Shizuoka prefecture as well, which Izuku always wins. No matter what. He always basically knows what card to play, how to play it, and when to play it. The same also goes for that of his Bakugan too. Almost like he's undefeated no matter what, making him basically a legend around that of Shizuoka, with a quirkless kid who's basically a prodigy and master at Bakugan for the past 4 years. Izuku began to be known as the Bakugan Wizard, as no matter what strategy or play you do against him, as he always comes prepared and ready to take you down. As gaining a lot of admirers, people respecting him, and basically can't help but like how much of a good player he is. However, due to him still being quirkless, some people basically see it as him being lucky, or he's cheating, or basically that, well, that it was just a fluke and he only won by that pure other chance. Stuff like that sore losers like to basically spout out, mainly because either they don't respect him for being quirkless, or they think that they're hot shit after all. So yeah. But even so, Izuku's fame begins to basically spread across that of the Bakugan community, to the point that he's starting to become well known all across that of other city prefectures, alongside that of the Kanto region as well, and even other regions across Japan, as Bakugan begins to basically blow up even more. However, something else begins to change with that of Izuku, as he begins hearing voices, to be honest. Voices that he feels like only he can hear. Voices telling him to not give up, or to use them in that of his in that of his Bakugan matches, or telling him to use certain cards. To be honest, it just feels weird on his point of view, to be fair. But honestly, most of the time, even though he may think he's going crazy from hearing voices in his head, he kind of prefers it over basically being alone. Sure, there are some people that hang out with Izuku, but mainly some of them only hang out with him to gain that of his fame, to be recognized by being part of one of the best Bakugan players across Japan's group or groupie or stuff like that. After all, not acknowledging him for just being him and him alone. Hero nerd and Bakugan prodigy all at the same time. With that, however, things still go on. Time goes on. And as I said, it was 4 years now gone by. Izuku is now beginning his final year at his junior high school, Aldera Junior High, as he's basically rushing towards the school, hyperactive and everything, as he basically, overslept, mainly due to that of, working on strategies and tactics for his Bakugan matches after all. As Bakugan has basically expanded and grew with the inclusion of many of other stuff from that of the series brought back, such as that of Trap Bakugan, Battle Gear, Battle Suits, Mutated and Fusion Bakugan, for example, too. Not to mention that of Baku Nano, which are basically other versions of Battle Gear, too. As Izuku has to basically pick and decide on which Bakugan to use, as there's no rule saying that you can use that of older model of Bakugan outside of certain tournament rules. Like, for example, ever since they fully released that of multiple Bakugan from that of the series, from that of, the original Battle Brawlers series to New Vestroya to Gondalian Invaders, Mectanium Surge, and so on. Some card shops like to do that as special tournaments, only allowing that of Bakugan and gear from that of that series alone. And of course, Izuku always comes prepared, because mainly that there's a tournament happening right after school and he doesn't want to be late for it. So of course he wanted to prepare for everything, but right after he leave from that of his first day back at school as a third, now beginning his last year at Aldera Junior High. But of course, things couldn't be that easy for that of the Green Net, mainly because a purse-snatching villain basically, felt cornered, used his quirk, and turns out his quirk basically turns him into that of a freaking giant, which caused that of the train lines to delay. Of course, this wouldn't really affect Izuku. However, even though he's basically become well known in the Bakugan community, he's still a hero nerd for heart. And of course, he wanted to check out at that of the, nearby heroes in that of his city, to be honest. Of course, the heroes that arrive, mainly being that of Def Arms, Backdraft, and an up-and-coming hero that's basically well-known and popular with ladies, being Kamui Woods. As of course, Kamui Woods was being the one who was going to apprehend that of the villain, especially about to use that of his special move, which Izuku was getting excited for, being his Lacrima chain prison. However, he never even got a chance even to show off that of his special move, mainly because somebody else took down the villain before that of Kamui could. As this person being a newly debuted pro heroine, has quite the, appealing look to her, given her costume. Her name being Mount Lady. What also doesn't help the fact that she's flaunting her ass, too. causing a lot of people, bystanders, having that of their cameras out and phones too, all muttering, "Money shot, money shot, money shot," leaving Izuku a little bit creeped out a bit. But that aside, he still wanted to write down about that of Mount Lady, her quirk, her appearance, and the likely chances of her being a top-ranking pro, mainly possibly due to her future popularity, with one of the bystanders, a bald guy with that of, weird spikes coming out of the top of his head, as he's saying, "Huh? Oh, you writing down about the new heroine? I'm guessing you're one of those hero nerds, kid." With Izuku a little bit embarrassed, saying, "Somewhat, sir," saying, "Well, if you're basically looking up these heroes a lot, I think you're going to become a hero yourself. Isn't that right? I'm rooting for you, kid." As he gives a thumbs up towards Izuku, with Izuku, shocked by this, having that of a big smile, before a voice saying, "You have all the qualifications of being a hero, Izuku. All you need to do is just have more confidence in yourself." Within hearing that familiar voice, as it's quite, feminine, but also a little bit motherly in a way, like something that his mom would have if, she had a little bit more confidence in him, though. However, ever since he started doing Bakugan, she has felt a little bit less, clingy or worried, but still, she's aware that Izuku still wants to be a hero, but this other voice, as it always supports him, give him aid, as it's one of the many voices that Izuku hears, sounding like they've all wanted to support and help him. With that, Izuku can't help but think, is he gone crazy? With that, now that the streets are starting to become more clear, Izuku needing to rush towards Aldera, as the school is basically, not really the biggest anyway. If anything, it's basically out of nowhere. It's not well known, and to be honest, it looks bland and boring from the outside. Currently in that of Class 3A, with that of the Izuku's homeroom teacher, as he basically says that now that they are basically third years, they need to think about what they'll be doing for that of the future once they graduate from that of junior high school. Of course, all of you can prepare for that of, high school entrance exams, go straight into high school, or you can basically decide not to go to high school and go straight into that of the workforce. Within, as he brings the career aptitude test up, saying, however, with that, everybody began to activate that of all their quirks in class, saying, "But why bother? I know all of you want to join that of the hero track." As all the papers basically fly everywhere with everyone's quirks all activated, using them random willy-nilly. Some interesting, while some, not so much. With some of these, with better, application or even thought, definitely they could be useful for that of hero work. But then there are just some that's just plain out useless, like beyond useless. Before then, a certain voice basically couldn't help but, drag everybody's good mood down with them, saying, "Don't lump me in with these losers, teach. All you extras would be lucky enough to be that of pro sidekicks for basically a D-lister." With Izuku's eyes widening, saying, "Oh no, Kachan, no." As of course, this is Bakugo, all grown up now. At least a little bit, but still arrogant as hell. With a few people in the classroom basically rightfully pissed about Bakugo's outburst and basically looking down on them. With a few basically saying, "You really think you could do better than us? Yeah, what makes you better, Bakugo?" Before then, Bakugo jumps on that of his desk before saying, "Because I'm the only one from this dead-end school who plans on going to UA, the school that's only worthy for somebody like me." Which basically quiets everybody down, but now in that of, loud whispers, but saying he's going to that of the national level school here in that of Masafu? No, that's impossible. Everybody knows that that school has a 2% pass rating, even if it is the best school in all of Japan. With then Bakugo saying, as he goes on a monologue saying that's the only school worthy for him, as he'll be the greatest hero of all time, better than All Might, richer than All Might, more famous than All Might, as it's his destiny to be the #1 hero. As he basically laughs, within the teacher nonchalantly saying, "Oh yeah, Midoriya, aren't you going to that of UA as well?" But then Bakugo stopped laughing while still having that of an, arrogant ass smile on his face, but more stiffly. With it, then soon everybody else began to laugh at that of Izuku. Within, Izuku couldn't help but feel a little bit embarrassed about the fact that their teacher called him out. Within, many of them making comments saying no way that they're going to let a quirkless person like him into the school. As Izuku was about to explain that they got rid of that rule, with another person saying, "Honestly, I'm starting to think he might do have a quirk." Within, a chain of reaction of voices, while some still laughing, while others began talking about Izuku saying, "Oh right, the rumor about him having a Bakugan quirk," saying, "Yeah, I actually fought against the kid thinking it would be an easy win. But in reality, the kid basically mopped the floor with me. Isn't he just good? I'm starting to think that maybe it might not be that. I'm starting to think that it may be a quirk." Saying, "So his quirk is basically tied to Bakugan? How is that even going to be more useful as a pro?" Within, Izuku thinking, "Honestly, as the years gone by, I'm starting to think that may be my quirk, tied to Bakugan." As of course, all of these wins, how he's able to basically know people's moves before they even make their moves, how he's able to basically beat that of players who basically train and work so hard to build out of strategies and tactics to get the upper hand. He automatically already knows how to win and counteract them. So in a way, they're not entirely wrong, but he just never really confirmed it yet. Before then, a voice saying, "Izuku, get out of the way!" Before then, Izuku jumping from his desk, sliding his, chair back to that of the person behind him, causing him to freak out. At the same time, an explosion happens to that of Izuku's desk, leaving Izuku a little bit shocked. With then Bakugo saying, "You damn Deku, you really trying to show me up, you damn nerd?" With Izuku raising his hands, still in his seat saying, "That's not what I'm trying to do, Kachan. I'm just still trying to be a hero, that's all. I'm not trying to upstage or anything." Within, Bakugo begins to berate Izuku, calling him weaker and lesser than everyone else here, given his quirklessness. But then, again, everybody's saying, I'm pretty sure he does have a quirk, which annoys Bakugo, saying, "And just because you're good at a damn card game doesn't mean you have a freaking quirk, you bastard! Don't let it go to your head, you worthless loser! Because if anything, you're nothing but a goddamn useless Deku. Remember that place, you idiot." As Izuku, having his head down, pretty much quite dejected, thinking about the words that Bakugo said, before another voice spoke up saying, "You need to don't let such words of such a spiteful and lonely boy affect you, Lord Izuku." But then, hearing that voice saying, "What the? You have far more greater strength within you. You just need to finally awaken it when the time is right." With that, soon the teacher saying, all right, that's enough. Bakugo, get back to your seat. And Midoriya, stop basically affecting class right now." With this, Izuku couldn't help but look down, as he can't help but remember that voice telling him to not let Bakugo's words affect him, which, in turn, they still did, but not to the same degree as they would have in canon. As the day now goes by, with now classes finally coming to an end, as in staying in that of the classroom to basically finish up his notes on that of Mount Lady, Izuku was able to leave that of Aldera way ahead of time before that of, Bakugo basically was going to threaten him to, not go to UA at all. Even heard that of Bakugo screaming from the top of his lungs all the way back at Aldera, that the fact that he couldn't basically catch Izuku off guard. But then Izuku basically huffing and also basically wiping a brow from his forehead, thinking, "Oh, I was so lucky. originally planning on taking a shortcut to his house after all, but deciding not to, wanting to take that of the scenic route and basically, well, wander around the streets for a bit, needing to clear his thoughts about the threats that Bakugo basically wanted to do. As of course, he's aware that Izuku doesn't have anything to be useful for as a hero. Of course, sure, he can possibly maybe learn a bit of martial arts or skills. Hell, for a good while, he's actually had a good understanding on that of, well, swordsmanship, to be fair, which is weird given he has never really used the sword before. But then again, he's just feeling like he understands it a bit. Not to mention, he still thinks he's crazy with hearing all these weird voices coming from in his head after all. Within, another voice saying, "You really still think that you are crazy, don't you?" Within, Izuku saying, "There it is again. Why is it like this?" Before it then, soon saying, then the same, well, motherly voice saying, "That's because you're not mishearing things." Before, for some reason, he feels warm around that of his pants, but mainly around that of his front pocket, as a couple of lights begin to basically shine within it. Before then, pulling them out of his pocket, as seeing the lights being his Bakugan, as they open up, with the green one being Aventus Bakugan, being Skyrus, while that of being the white-yellow one, being that of his Tigreira, while that of the red one being Dragonoid. Of course, he has other Bakugan, but he mainly keeps these around as keepsakes or good luck charms, given that they were his first Bakugan. But now, basically seeing them open up within, Skyrus saying, "Izuku, as I've been telling you all this time, you have the potential. You have the power to be a great hero. You just need to have more confidence in yourself. Mainly because the world continues to bring you down." With Izuku quite freaked out, with his eyes basically, irises shrinking, and a look of pure and utter shock, before then dropping his Bakugan. However, as Skyrus and Drago are basically able to fly a little bit, Tigreira basically screams, with Izuku hearing the scream, catching Tigreira, at the same time also catching that of Skyrus and Drago, but then saying, "Oh, that was really close," saying, "Thank you for saving me, my lord. But why did you have to drop us like that?" Within, Izuku going, "I am hearing actual Bakugan right now. And did I really lose it?" Within, Drago saying, there goes the boy, basically thinking he's gone crazy. Honestly, I won't be able to blame you, but right now, no, you are not going crazy. We are actually talking." Within saying, "So are you guys actual Bakugan from the series, like from that of the planet Vestroia?" With Izuku basically about to go ranting down on the anime. Within, Tigreira saying, "None of that, my lord. We are not from that of the TV show. If anything, we are definitely from the card game, and we're reacting because of the card game. It's due to your quirk that we are able to speak to you and have sentience." Within, hearing that, Izuku saying, "My quirk." Before then, remembering back then, all the way when he was around that of 4 years old, that his quirk needed a catalyst to activate. That he needed something around him for him to control or activate his quirk. Before then, coming to the realization saying, my quirk has always been tied to Bakugan." With even remembering all those matches, he's been using his quirk subconsciously while basically his matches. His entire quirk revolves around Bakugan itself. With that, Izuku just couldn't help but basically slump to the ground, before then laughing to himself, with even tears coming out of his eyes while laughing, as he can't help but think, after all this time, I always thought that I was completely and utterly quirkless, or I was losing it. I always thought that I was just lucky that I was good at Bakugan. But now I know. It really is my quirk. I'm good at the card game because of my quirk. And not to mention, I literally have now... I'm turning that of my own Bakugan into sentient beings that can talk to me. The world really is cruel in one way or another. Oh, Izuku, you've been through so much. And the reason that it took us this long, or even for us to react, is because your quirk was also, well, stocking up energy as well. Within, Izuku saying, stocking energy? Within, as Drago saying, your quirk basically allows us to become, well, talk and basically speak, like that of the Bakugan from that of the TV show in a way. You remember them as who they are. For example, I Dragonoid. You're thinking me as that of Drago, are you not? Or see me as Drago. Within, Izuku blinking, saying, yeah, the wise, strong, kind, and basically powerful-willed Bakugan, main Bakugan of Dan Kuso, and basically secondary protagonist of the series. Exactly. You see me like that, and it's how I see myself. It's how I interact with you and also the world. Within, Skyrus going, and it's the same with me. The reason on why I've always been motherly or giving you support, Izuku, is just like the Skyrus from the series. The way that she supported, cared for, and looked after Shun. It's the reason I act like that too. With that, Izuku couldn't help but basically wipe away his tears before saying, I guess so. I guess all this time, my quirk has just been reassuring me and supporting me and helping me. Within also realizing, wait, the sword skills. Within, Tigrera spoking up saying, exactly, my lord. You know about that of certain, well, battlers that have the ability to use that of their, use certain ability cards as weapons. Like from that of New Vestroya, turning that of their battle gauntlets into blades, like Spectra and Dan did. Within, Izuku realizing that's so true. Before then, he can't help but say, if that's the case, then... And if I was stocking up energy, what was that energy being stocked towards? Within, soon, Skyrus saying, would you like to know? If that's the case, then you'll need a place where you can finally train with us. Within, Izuku hearing that, as he can't help but be a little bit curious, but probably best to basically head back home, deciding to no longer take the long way round, looking around the neighborhood that he's in, and decided to take that of a few shortcuts by going through a few alleyways. And the best way to go is through that of the, well, downtown district, actually. As Izuku begins running through the sidewalk and through the streets, that's when something happened. An explosion in a distance, right next to that of the, well, downtown shopping district. As Izuku's aware of that district, as it's around that of the card shop that he goes to for his Bakugan, and to meet that of Watabe. Within, a little bit worried, and also curious about seeing that of the heroes that show up. Within, as he arrives, he soon notices that of a huge crowd, smoke and fire everywhere. With seeing that of, once again, Def Arms, Kamui Woods, Backdraft, and even Mount Lady, alongside a few other pros like that of, well, Airjet as well, helping out nearby civilians, and with Backdraft trying to put out the fires. However, it looks like the flames just continue to rise or start back up, as you could hear that of explosions happening. Within, Izuku, on the other hand, basically flinches at those explosions as he realizes, oh god, those explosions, they sounded just like... Within, Drago saying, like Bakugo, with Izuku couldn't help but nod at that of his newly sentient Bakugan. Within Izuku saying, why, how did you, saying, besides all your memories, he's pretty much the cause of this. Within, Izuku saying, what? As trying to get closer into that of the crowd and trying to wonder what's going on as he gets closer and closer up to the edge before then feeling all of the heat around him, and then up in the distance seeing Bakugo encased by that of a villain completely made out of sludge, with Bakugo trying his best to, well, get out, even use his quirk, but all it's doing is just basically causing more fires, and his struggling isn't helping at all for the heroes to get him out. Not to mention, Death Arms tried to get him out with a single punch, but it didn't do anything. And instead of trying again and again, or figure out that of the sludge villain's weakness, he's just basically hoping that somebody with a stronger quirk than his would be better for the situation, which making Izuku quite annoyed and angry that he's not bothering looking in other ways. Like, his quirk is definitely useful for a situation like this if he just think. Not to mention, Kamui Woods could also help out too, but instead he's focusing too much on that of the civilians, where Backdraft or maybe even that of, well, Airjet and the other heroes can focus on the civilians, but instead they're not, which making him mainly and quite frustrated at this situation, as these are pro heroes trained to figure out situations better than this, and yet they're not, as all the analytical strategy, tactics, and ability sees multiple, as for some reason his Bakugan quirk, allowing him to see that of openings, ways for them to use their quirks properly, and even ways to basically save Bakugo before taking down the sludge villain. But yet, no one else can see them except him, which is making him even more frustrated. But then, soon, Tigrera spoke up saying, "My lord, what do you wish to do?" But then saying, "Huh? Do you wish to help that of Bakugo? Help that of the boy who not only destroyed your friendship, but also has basically made his life goal of basically making your life miserable, suffering, and trying to basically belittle you for your dream of being a hero? Do you really wish to save a person who doesn't even embody the ideas on what it means to be a hero, and believes in his own superiority to the point that he's willing to put down others for even trying to even be around him? Do you truly wish to save such a man who is nothing but a blight on this world and is better off without?" Within, hearing that, Izuku thinking, maybe those are some words that Tigrera would say, but the real Tigrera, the one who will always stand what's right and fight for what's right as well, no matter how frustrating a person can be, would always stand her ground and help them in need. Isn't that right? Within, saying, "That's exactly what I would like to hear, my lord." Within, Izuku saying, "But I can't step in. If I do, then..." Before then, that's when Izuku noticed that Bakugo's eyes, the eyes of the bright emerald eyes that are normally so spiteful, angry, arrogant, determined, and full of life, is basically looking sorrow, saddened, desperate, and rarely fear, which causing Izuku to basically run into the fray, catching everybody, the bystanders, and even the pro heroes completely off guard, with Death Arms saying, "What the hell you think you're doing, kid? Get out of there!" With Izuku reacting, realizing, oh crap, I'm really doing this. Within, soon, Skyra saying, "Calm down, Izuku. You know what to do. Think and focus." Within, saying, "Right," as he tries to calm his mind down as he's racing while his body is still moving. Within, he grabs on to that of one of his Bakugan, and at that very moment, he feels it. Energy basically flowing into that of one of them. He doesn't know which one he grabbed, but he does know that this is the energy tied to his quirk. The energy that Tugura Sane has been stockpiling all this time. And now it's time to finally unleash it. Within, soon throwing his bag to the side before then throwing the Bakugan that was already in his hands straight at the sludge villain. With the sludge villain noticing this alongside Bakugo. Within, he's saying, "Huh? The hell are you think you're doing, kid?" Before then, Izuku saying, "Go!" With roaring all his might and throwing the Bakugan in his hands towards the sludge villain with all the strength he has. Within, as the Bakugan he threw was Skyrus. With that, Skyrus begins to open up, and in a bright light, a light that basically consumes the entirety of the area, in that of storm clouds, as the clouds begin to basically funnel up in the air above that of the market district. Within, coming from that of the clouds, are that of large green wings, and that of a large feathery tails. And soon, coming from that of the storm cloud entirely, is that of a bird that looks like a phoenix, a green phoenix, as this is Ventus Skyrus. At the same time, as Skyrus lets off that of a powerful cry, as ironically, that cry causes that of the storm clouds around them begin to basically rain, bringing down that of the rain onto that of the flames caused by Bakugo's explosions from the sledge villain. With the sledge villain realizing, "What the actual hell?" Within, Backdraft saying, "The rain, it's putting out the flames." Within, Mountain Lady saying, "Hey, is that a Bakugan? I used to play that when I was in high school. If I recall, that's Skyrus, right?" Within, hearing this, Izuku saying, "Even pros played Bakugan? Wow, that's something." Skyrus basically keeping herself in the air, flapping her wings, saying, "I'm going to ask you this once, villain. Let go of the boy known as Katsuki Bakugo, and you won't be harmed. But refuse, then you'll wish that you listen to the first option." Within, the sludge villain, a little bit creeped out and in fear about seeing the giant ass, green phoenix, saying, "Not a chance in hell. This kid's quirk is something else. With this quirk, I can do anything, even take down All Might." Within, trying to take control of Bakugo's body again, with Bakugo struggling, with the sludge villain raising up Bakugo's right arm, sending it towards that of Skyrus. However, Skyrus, on the other hand, wasn't even fazed by the explosion that hit her. If anything, it barely looked like it did any damage at all. Within saying, "Huh, pathetic." Within saying, "Huh?" Soon, Izuku could feel it saying, I could feel Skyrus's connection towards me, her power. Before then, realizing, "I know what I need to do." Within, Skyrus saying, "You could feel it, Izuku. Then do what your heart content. Finally act on that of your quirk." Within, Izuku, having a look of pure and utter seriousness, saying, "Ability card, activate!" As an ability card appears right in between that of Izuku's right fingers, as saying, "Winds of Fury!" As Skyrus begins flapping her wings so seriously, she begins to create that of whirlwinds through that of the alleyway, consuming round that of the sledge villain, as he's trying his best to keep on to that of Bakugo. At the same time, Bakugo is being consumed by the winds as well. However, Izuku, seeing the opportunity, as the sledge villain was getting peeled off bit by bit by that of Skyrus' ability. Before then, he finally gets off that of Bakugo's shoulders and his head, and Seeing the opportunity, Izuku rushes towards Bakugo. Before then, the sludge villain is completely and utterly ripped off of Bakugo. And then Izuku grabs onto Bakugo by that of his arm and bringing his former childhood friend close to him again, catching all the pros completely off guard. Within, the sludge villain being knocked off that of Bakugo, saying, "Damn it, you little brat, and your freaking pet too! I am not going to jail, you freaking!" Within, Izuku not caring, saying, "Ability card activate! Firestorm!" Materializing out of his right hand once again, being an ability card. As soon the ability card activates, as the power soon sends towards that of Skyrus, as green-like flames begin to coat her entire body. Before then, she sees the perfect opportunity as she dive bombs towards that of the sludge villain, catching the sludge villain completely and utterly off guard about the attack coming straight at him, as he screams in utter pain, consumed by the green flames and by his overwhelming pain, as he becomes that of nothing but a puddle on the ground, as his appearance basically becomes a little bit more humanoid, but still completely made out of sludge, with that of his bright yellow eyes basically rolled on the back of his head. Within, Skyrus rises back up and unleashes a powerful screal, as showing her power. Within, Izuku getting Bakugo off of him, as he looks back up at Skyrus, as he can't help but be amazed at her beauty and power, as this is what his quirk can truly do. The quirk that he has been missing out on all this time until now. With this, he knows he can now truly be a hero. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, what did you guys think? Think I did a good job on how that of Izuku's quirk works with that of Bakugan? Or do you think I could have done a little bit better? I like to hear what you guys have to say. Not too, annoyed with that criticism if it helps me improve. Not to mention, you guys may be wondering, how the hell did the sludge villain get that of Bakugo if Izuku never basically encountered the sludge villain, which also leads to that of All Might not dropping out of the bottle because Izuku didn't ask him the question if he can be a hero? Well, that's simple, really. People don't really bring up the fact that even if Izuku didn't cause All Might to drop that of the sludge villain from his pockets if he hanged on to him, All Might still brought up the fact that he still didn't know about that of the layout of Masafu's sewer system. The sludge villain pretty much did, and he still could have basically snuck away or basically hide out before that of All Might, and still basically would have found that of Bakugo and his lackeys. That's my interpretation on it, to be honest, because again, All Might does not think things through. He acts first without thinking question, just like how Izuku does when he acts first when he hears somebody's in danger. So yeah. Anyway, with that explanation out of the way, if you guys like this, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification to keep you updated my videos upload to the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, my gaming channel, my other channel, my side channel, my Patreon, and my Cash App. All link in the description below. And if you guys have that of a what if you want me to do for that of the channel, please remember to basically do a super donation thanks in the comments. And I'll do that of the what if of your choosing and turn into a one-shot. So with all that said, this is Leon Mookie signing out. Later guys, and hope you all take care. Thank you so much for watching and staying to the end of the video.
But there's still so much on my love channel.
That's right, such as my other what if content and the most recent what ifs as well.
Not to mention his playlist, where you can watch all of his other what ifs.
Which, all said and done, this is Leon.
And Shiro.
And you're watching Leon Mookie.